What's up, guys? This is Rey-Jay back with another video. And in this one, I want to break down something with SPY, Tesla, and the overall markets. I'm going to break down some important things that President Trump said that helped the market bounce quite a bit. What you should be watching for as time goes on the charts. Just know two things. I am firstly not a financial planner, so take nothing I'm saying as financial advice whatsoever. And also, if you guys can, please check out my Moomoo link that's down below, or use my QR code right here to sign up. If you sign up for Moomoo with the link down below and deposit $100, you're going to get $20 for free Nvidia stock. If you deposit $2,000 or more, you're going to get $50 worth of Nvidia plus a $100 cash reward. Deposits $10,000 or more to get $300 worth of Nvidia plus $100, or deposits $50,000 more to get $1,000 for free Nvidia stock plus $100. You're also going to qualify for an 8.1% APY on uninvested cash, and the offer ends very soon. So please use my link down below to sign up. Anyways, as far as the stock market's going, as you guys could tell, SPY quite clearly has a left shoulder, a head, and a right shoulder that's been forming for the last couple of weeks. However, today we got this monstrous bounce after what President Trump had said. I'm going to talk about that in just a second. But know this, we have not necessarily invalidated the downside quite yet. We have not broken 670 on SPY. If we break this, we could be looking for all-time highs. But notice that once we touched 670 a couple of days ago, we rejected. Then we touched 668 and rejected. Then we pushed again and we got another rejection. So every time we pump, we just keep on getting these rejections. And we're going to see if SPY could pump more than get some kind of rejection again. So why did the market pump? Let's first talk about that, and I'll break down exactly what's going to happen. I mentioned that the market's going to see a sell-off in my video from yesterday, and that did happen. SPY actually dumped all the way down to 652. We dumped really hard. We did get the sell-off we were talking about, but then President Trump said some stuff that caused the market to bounce back up, right? We can't always predict everything President Trump will say, and the market made a nice comeback. So why did the market bounce? President Trump made some remarks during his meeting with President Zelensky of Ukraine, and he was talking about China. He said that China wants to talk, and we like talking to China. Then he said that we have a good relationship, and we're going to be meeting in South Korea in a couple of weeks. So he's referring to Xi Jinping. He also talked about his tariff policy, and he said that the U.S. is in a very strong position ahead of the anticipated meeting in Korea. Then he also said that when asked if there could be a trade deal between the U.S. and China, he said that there could be a deal. He made that very clear. A deal could be coming. Then he said they want to talk, and we're talking, and I think we will make a deal that will be good for both. I think we will do something. So that is what President Trump said. He's telling us that he's going to be meeting up with Xi Jinping within 2 weeks. This is a very, very important piece of news because the US and China are the two biggest economies in the world. And they're going to be, having our leaders meeting. President Trump and Xi Jinping should be meeting in South Korea in just a couple of weeks. And there could be a big deal involving China coming out. So they're going to be negotiating trade when the time finally comes, and this could be very, very important. On top of this, President Trump said something else which I think helped the market bounce more. He mentioned that his proposed 100% tariffs on goods from China would not be sustainable. So he made that very clear, but he did once again blame China for it because of the export regulations on the rare earth materials. So what's going on? He's saying it's not going to be sustainable because this is not necessarily going to be a forever thing. And President Trump made that very clear. He's telling us that he's going to threaten 100% tariffs on China so that they negotiate and form a deal. That's his main goal. He wants to see a deal where they kind of alleviate regulations or they come up with some kind of compromise because he's not happy about the way in which they're handling the export controls. That's what President Trump is implying. So the 100% tariffs, excuse me, he's not going to keep those forever. Those are going to eventually go down. So he's telling us it's just a negotiation tactic that he's using to form some kind of deal. That's what President Trump is telling us. That is very, very important. And the market loves to hear that. The market liked what it heard from him. That's part of why we bounced. On top of this, heading into next week, we have very, very minor earnings on Monday. But then on Tuesday, we have Coca-Cola in the morning and GM as well. And then after market close on Tuesday, we have Netflix announcing its earnings. On Wednesday, we have AT&T and a couple of communications stocks. And then after market close, we have Tesla and IBM announcing their earnings. Tesla's going to be the biggest one of the week. On Thursday, we have American Airlines and Intel announcing their earnings. And on Friday, we just have quiet earnings as well. So Tesla will be a big one. Get ready for Tesla on Wednesday. So what's happening with our data? As you guys can see right here, Monday, October 20th is going to be very quiet. We just have some bill auctions. Tuesday, we just have a couple of Fed speakers. There's not really much on Wednesday. Very quiet data due to the government shutdown. But on Friday, October 24th, CPI is scheduled to come out. It is delayed. Hopefully, the data is decent and this could help the markets, or it may cause the market to slow down since we are expecting a hotter, all expected number. But we'll see just to be safe what it looks like if we see CPI go up or not. Be very, very patient. Finally, fear makes up the majority of sentiment. Will this shift or not? We'll have to see about that. And the market is still in a more fearful stance, but we're going to see if fear subsides or not. So, with that being said, what do I think is going to happen to the stock market? It's quite simple, okay? When you look at SPY, we still have this larger head and shoulders like pattern. But when you zoom in and go to our 5 minutes or 30 minutes time frame, we have a quite clear inverse head and shoulders. This means that we have like a left shoulder here, a head, and a right shoulder. And we're trying to uptrend right now on SPY. I do think we might be going a little bit higher for like 668 to 670. But then once we touch that, we're going to see if we get some kind of rejection again. And why do I say that? We might go a little bit higher on Monday for 668. But when you look at the 4 hour, check this out. SPY is not necessarily breaking out or breaking down. We're in a range, meaning that we were at 674. Then we dumped all the way down to 646. Then we bounced back up to 665. Then we dumped back down to 653. Then back up to 670, back down, back down towards the lows at 652 this morning. Then we bounced back up. So see how we're just going back and forth, back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. Could we push more? Yeah, I could see like 668. It's possible on SPY, but there's no guarantee we just keep on running and running and running unless we could hold above 670. Then there is hope for us to go to all-time highs again. But if we don't, what could happen is that we try to push for like 668 to 670, then we reject again, and we turn right back down just like we've been doing, and we continue to consolidate for some time before we see a big rejection. Why might we do that? Because remember, this is just part of the tricky right shoulder. The left shoulder was like this as well. When we had a left shoulder forming on SPY, we went up, down, up, down, up, down. Then we saw the big rally for the head. We started consolidating. Then we dumped. Now we're consolidating again, and that could lead to another downside move. As you guys can see, this looks like a left shoulder, a head, and then a right shoulder on SPY. And even if we consolidate between 652 and 668 for some time to 670 in that range, even if we consolidate for another couple of days like that or another week, there is still a risk of us dumping as long as we don't break key resistance. So the head and shoulders is still valid, which is why you want to be very careful. If we could hold 670, we could invalidate this, but as of right now, there's no sign of that. We might go a bit higher, but there is a risk of rejection if that ends up failing. On the QQQ, we got a nice pump. There's a left shoulder, head, and right shoulder that's still present. If we break past 608 and hold it, then yes, we could be looking for all-time highs. But if we touch 606 and reject, it's also possible in your 608 we reject, because the last time we touched that, we did get some kind of rejection move. And if we do reject like this, we could turn back down once again, forming that left shoulder, head, and right shoulder. I would not be too bullish quite yet. I'd be very, very unbiased. Another hint is the IWM, although it's bouncing for like 246 to 247, it could also turn back down because we have this gap to fill down here at 238. That could also drag us back down. On ES, it's the same thing. Left shoulder, head, and right shoulder. Will this pan out? Well, for now, we're bullish. For now, it wants to go back up to like 67.50 possibly. We're going to see if that breaks for all-time highs, or if we kind of push there, come back down, consolidate, then eventually start dipping back down to form that right shoulder. The head and shoulders is still valid, so be very careful. Same thing with NQ. We could be going for 25,200, and then we'll see if we kind of like turn or not from there. So please keep that level in mind. That's going to be very key for how we end up moving. On Bitcoin, we're on a bit of a downtrend as well. We have resistance at 109,000. We'll see if we reject. I could see us push a bit higher for that resistance, then we'll see if we turn back down. So keep that in mind. For Tesla, this is showing some strength. We have earnings next week. Sometimes approaching earnings, Tesla likes to run. So now there is a possibility of a left shoulder, head, and right shoulder for an inverse head and shoulders. Unless we lose 432, we're now favoring upside. I want to see us break 440. If we do, 445 to 450 could be coming for Tesla for a temporary run. For Nvda, we're trying to push. We have resistance at 184. We'll see if that breaks. If we break that, we could try to push for 187 for a temporary push, and we'll see if we reject or not. Apple's also trying to push back up to 255. AMD is on a bit of an uptrend. We need to see 228 hold. As long as it holds, we're looking for 240. Coinbase is trying to push for 337. If that breaks, we're looking for the 342 area. Amazon could be looking for 216. Meta has 720 as our potential target. And Google is going to be favoring 256 or above. It might be going a temporarily higher. Microsoft could also be retesting 515 to 517. We'll see if we reject. Finally, the VIX rejected here. We have a gap to pull back down towards 19.9 and support at 19.5. So we could be dipping to these lows and we'll see if we bounce or not. So give this the time it needs. With that being said, I want to thank you all so much for listening. There's a nice inverse head and shoulders on Tesla, and the market could try to rally a bit more and try to get back up towards resistance. And we'll see if we end up turning down or not. We have 665 as our target. On SPY, then 668 is going to be coming next. So I do think we go a little bit higher. But be careful because there's still a large head and shoulders that's valid. There's no sign of us invalidating this yet. And every time we push to 668 to 670, we have rejected. So we might be doing the same thing again. We'll see what happens with President Trump, any announcements that come out involving China, and what else the market's about to do. It looks like we're going to go a little higher, then we'll see if we get a rejection, so give the market the time it needs. Anyways, that's it for this one. Please enjoy your guys' weekends, and I'll be back very soon with another updates tomorrow. Have a good day, guys, and peace out.